Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyapati Ashtatchadeshatarine Namaste Saraswati Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatchadeshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gauda Premanande.
Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Good
Krishna.
afternoon, everybody. Hare Bo about to see. How are you?
I'm grand, Prabhu. Thank you. How are you doing?
Very good. Also, I'm at my house. You might be able to tell by the very groovy wallpaper.
Nice. In Elm Grove.
Hare Krishna. And Bhakta Adam, or Bhakti E for ecstatic, is here. Stalwart
Hari
Pundit. Stalwart Pundit G.
Bo.
Hari. And Ishani Devi Dasi. Hari Paul. Thank you. Tuning in. Picking up the grandkids in the vehicle. But still eager to hear. Just so enlivening and encouraging. Makes me want to hear more too. Okay, guys. We're starting with Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 22. 1 to 22. Please repeat if you can and would like. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Saritsatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Okay. 1 to 22. Tato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya muda vasudeve bhagavati koravantyatma prasadanim. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. Purport. The specialty of devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is specifically mentioned herein. Lord Sri Krishna is the Swayam Rupa personality of Godhead, and all other forms of Godhead, beginning from Sri Baladev, Sankarshan, Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradumna, and Narayan, and extending to the Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Yuga avatars, and many other thousands of manifestations of the personality of Godhead, are Lord Sri Krishna's plenary portions and integrated parts. The living entities are separated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is the original form of Godhead, and he is the last word in the transcendence. Thus, he is more attractive to the higher transcendentalists who participate in the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In forms of the personality of Godhead other than Sri Krishna and Baladev, there is no facility for intimate personal contact as in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord at Brajabhumi. The transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna are not newly accepted, as argued by some less intelligent persons. His pastimes are eternal and are manifested in due course once in a day of Brahmaji, as the sun rises on the eastern horizon at the end of every 24 hours. Text 23, Satvam Rajastama Eti Prakrite Gunasthar Yukta Para Purusha Eka Ihashadhate Stityadaye Harivarinchi Hareti Sangya Shreyangsi Tatra Karusatvatanur Naranam Su. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and Vishnu and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. Purport. That Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary parts, should be rendered devotional service, as explained above, is confirmed by this statement. Lord Sri Krishna and all his plenary parts are Vishnu Tattva, or the lordship of Godhead. From Sri Krishna, the next manifestation is Baladev. From Baladev is Sankarshan. From Sankarshan is Narayan. From Narayan there is the second Sankarshan, and from this Sankarshan the Vishnu Purusha avatars. The Vishnu, or the deity of the quality of goodness in the material world, is the Purusha avatar known as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu or Paramatma. Brahma is the deity of Rajas, passion, and Shiva of ignorance. They are the three departmental heads of the three qualities of this material world. Creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu, and when it requires to be destroyed, Lord Shiva does it by the Tandava Nritya. The materialists and the foolish human beings worship Brahma and Shiva respectively. That's funny. The materialists and the foolish human beings worship Brahma and Shiva respectively. But the pure transcendentalists worship the form of goodness, Vishnu, in his various forms. Vishnu is manifested by his millions and billions of integrated forms and separated forms. The integrated forms are called Godhead, and the separated forms are called the living entities, or the jivas. Both the jivas and Godhead have their original spiritual forms. Jivas are sometimes subjected to the control of material energy, but the Vishnu forms are always controllers of this energy. When Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, appears in the material world, he comes to deliver the conditioned living beings who are under the material energy. Such living beings appear in the material world with intentions of being lords, and thus they become entrapped by the three modes of nature. As such, the living entities have to change their material coverings for undergoing different terms of imprisonment. The prison house of the material world is created by Brahma under instruction of the personality of Godhead, and at the conclusion of a kalpa, the whole thing is destroyed by Shiva. But as far as maintenance of the prison house is concerned, it is done by Vishnu, as much as the state prison house is maintained by the state. Anyone, therefore, who wishes to get out of this prison house of material existence, which is full of miseries like repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age, must please Lord Vishnu for such liberation. Lord Vishnu is worshipped by devotional service only, and if anyone has to continue prison life in the material world, he may ask for relative facilities for temporary relief from the different demigods like Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Varuna. No demigod, however, can release the imprisoned living being from the conditioned life of material existence. This can be done only by Vishnu. Therefore, the ultimate benefit may be derived from Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Verse 24. Partivadaruno dhumas tasmadagnistrayi mayah tamasastu rajas tasmat sattvam yad brahma darshanam. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood, and fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. Purport. As explained above, one can get release from the conditioned life of material existence by devotional service to the personality of Godhead. It is further comprehended herein that one has to rise to the platform of the mode of goodness, sattva, so that one can be eligible for the devotional service of the Lord. But if there are impediments on the progressive path, anyone, even from the platform of tamas, can gradually rise to the sattva platform by the expert direction of the spiritual master. Sincere candidates must, therefore, approach an expert spiritual master for such a progressive march, and the bona fide expert spiritual master is competent to direct a disciple from any stage of life, tamas, rajas, or sattva. It is a mistake, therefore, to consider that worship of any quality or any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally beneficial. Except Vishnu, all separated forms are manifested under the conditions of material energy, and therefore the forms of material energy cannot help anyone to rise to the platform of sattva, which alone can liberate a person from material bondage. The uncivilized state of life, or the life of the lower animals, is controlled by the mode of tamas. The civilized life of man, with a passion for various types of material benefits, is the stage of rajas. The rajas stage of life gives a slight clue to the realization of the absolute truth in the forms of fine sentiments in philosophy, art, and culture, with moral and ethical principles. But the mode of sattva is a still higher stage of material quality, which actually helps one in realizing the absolute truth. In other words, there is a qualitative difference between the different kinds of worshiping methods as well as the respective results derived from the predominating deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Hara. Bhejyare munayodhagre bhagavantam arhukshajam sattvam vishuddham kshemaya kalpante ye nutanaha. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Okay, purport. The purpose of performing religion is neither to profit by material gain nor to get the simple knowledge of discerning matter from spirit. The ultimate aim of religious performances is to release oneself from material bondage and regain the life of freedom in the transcendental world, where the personality of Godhead is the Supreme Person. Laws of religion, therefore, are directly enacted by the personality of Godhead, and except for the Mahajanas, or the authorized agents of the Lord, no one knows the purpose of religion. There are 12 particular agents of the Lord who know the purpose of religion, and all of them render transcendental service unto him. Persons who desire their own good may follow these Mahajans, and thus attain the supreme benefits. Mumukshavo ghodarupan hitvabuta patinata Narayana kalashanta bhajanti hanasuyavaha. Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all-blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is the original person of the Vishnu categories, expands himself in two different categories, namely integrated plenary portions and separated parts and parcels. The separated parts and parcels are the servitors, and the integrated plenary portions of Vishnu Tattvas are the worshipful objects of service. All demigods who are empowered by the Supreme Lord are also separated parts and parcels. They do not belong to the categories of Vishnu Tattva. The Vishnu Tattvas are living beings equally as powerful as the original form of the personality of Godhead, and they display different categories of power in consideration of different times and circumstances. The separated parts and parcels are powerful by limitation. They do not have unlimited power like the Vishnu Tattvas. Therefore, one should never classify the Vishnu Tattvas or the plenary portions of Narayan, the personality of Godhead, in the same categories with the parts and parcels. If anyone does so, he becomes at once an offender by the name Pashandi. In the age of Kali, many foolish persons commit such unlawful offenses and equalize the two categories. The separated parts and parcels have different positions in the estimation of material powers, and some of them are like Kala Bhairava, Smashana Bhairava, Shani, Mahakali, and Chandika. These demigods are worshipped mostly by those who are in the lowest categories of the mode of darkness or ignorance. Other demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Surya, Ganesh, and many similar deities are worshipped by men in the mode of passion, urged on by the desire for material enjoyment. But those who are actually situated in the mode of goodness, Sattvagun, of material nature, worship only Vishnu Tattvas. Vishnu Tattvas are represented by various names and forms such as Narayan, Damodar, Vamana, Govinda, and Adhokshaja. The qualified Brahmanas worship the Vishnu Tattvas represented by the Shalagram Shila, and some of the higher castes like the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas also generally worship the Vishnu Tattvas. Highly qualified Brahmanas situated in the mode of goodness have no grudges against the mode of worship of others. They have all respect for other demigods, even though they may look ghastly like Kalabhairava or Mahakali. They know very well that these horrible features of the Supreme Lord are all different servitors of the Lord under different conditions. Yet they reject the worship of both horrible and attractive features of the demigods. And they concentrate only on the forms of Vishnu because they are serious about liberation from the material conditions. The demigods, even to the stage of Brahma, the supreme of all the demigods, cannot offer liberation to anyone. Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of penance to become eternal in life, but his worshipful deity Brahma could not satisfy him with such blessings. Therefore Vishnu, and none else, is called Muktipad, or the personality of Godhead, who can bestow upon us mukti, liberation. The demigods, being like other living entities in the material world, are all liquidated at the time of the annihilation of the material structure. They are themselves unable to get liberation, and what to speak of giving liberation to their devotees. The demigods can award the worshippers some temporary benefit only, and not the ultimate one. It is for this reason only that candidates for liberation deliberately reject the worship of the demigods, although they have no disrespect for any one of them. Text 27. Any points at this point? Any points at this junction? Questions, comments, realizations, chastisements?
As we're reading that only Vishnu or Krishna can actually be the one to liberate us fully, and that also the Brahmins who know this don't have any disrespect for the other demigods, because they know that they're all just still parts and parcels and doing their duties for the supreme.
Right.
It's like that point. It's cool, like that they don't have any sort of like disrespect for those who like even worship the demigods, because they know that it's all connected with Krishna.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point because sometimes, sometimes we read this and I mean, I've seen and I have experienced. There's like a sense of like superiority or something, that develops or can develop. Um, like I know for myself, like the first time I went to India, I remember kind of like not necessarily a disrespectful disposition towards demigods, and like I could see demigod worship, but it was almost like I just had like a sense of like I don't know, kind of dismissive, maybe slightly disrespectful, and it definitely wasn't like uh, very respectful. I guess we could put it that way. But yeah, Krishna kind of showed over time how, uh, in my own experience and developing my own Krishna consciousness, I've come to appreciate, uh, different modes of worship and different demigod worship and things like that in a way of, yeah, actually appreciating. Um, Another point. Oh, you want to say something, Prabhuji?
No, I was gonna say Jai, and I was gonna ask you, do you have Red Raksha on? Your,
I do,
as
yeah.
we can see that practically.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I actually took Rudraksha um, mainly from the initial suggestion from senior devotees and senior devotee astrologers recommended at first, and then actually I took their advice and then went in and then by their advice I took um, basically like a Rudraksha, not a counselor, but like a guide to set me up with everything, and to properly wear Rudraksha. It comes basically with a whole sadhana, and
I did
go ahead, bro.
initially. What was the initial reason for them to like to tell you that Red Raksha is like good for you to wear?
What's that?
Why were they recommending Red Raksha?
Well, there's a astrologer, the Mithuna twins. They're well known amongst devotees, senior Prabhupada disciples. I believe that Prabhuji was told to do astrology by Srila Prabhupada, so he's like considered like quite empowered to do it, and devotees really, they really um, are kind of revered, and so I wanted to hear from them, and so they'll do like a life chart, and it's like basically like a 50-page little booklet of all the details and different times and yogas and everything, your whole chart. And I got one, and there's a small section in the chart that basically like they recommend very briefly recommending like remedial measures that kind of help. Excuse me. Excuse me. That kind of help with like some of the malefic stuff in your chart or whatever, and they recommend Rudraksha, and they recommend gemstones, and they say if you want to know more about this, then you can get a hold of us and we'll talk more about it. And so they do that, I think, with everybody's chart, but I don't know how many of the devotees really look into it. But actually, once I took and started learning and practicing myself, I actually started noticing that a lot of devotees actually do that. But somehow before I didn't really notice as much. But yeah, I think they do with everybody. And actually, I saw it as a brahmachari when I first got my chart, and I was like, yeah, we don't need those. And it wasn't until like several years later when I just happened to be in a different position and I was a little bit more like humbled by my circumstances that actually I was like, okay, well, yeah, let me look more into this and ask, and then yeah, it turned out to be very helpful and very nice for me.
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Probably another point I wanted to point out was in this purport we just read, he says Srila Prabhupada uses words like, let me try to find one. Where is it? He'll say things like, I can't find an exact quote, but he says a lot of stuff like, these demigods are generally worshipped by people in this mode, or generally like this, or usually like that, but he doesn't say like, they're, only. So, sometimes we hear these kind of things and take it as like absolute when it's not exactly what Prabhupada's even saying, you know. So that's just another point to, sometimes we might overlook those, uh, when he says things like that. I'm trying to find one. Yeah, these demigods are worshipped mostly by those who are in the lowest categories in the mode of darkness or ignorance. Like that kind of statement. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, devotees generally don't worship, these forms and these demigods, but it's not necessarily outside of Prabhupada's mood to actually, like offer respects and stuff. And we might do that in different ways and to different degrees, but it's, I've seen like Kali worshippers. They do some gnarly stuff, like kill a buffalo and just put the blood all over everywhere and that kind of stuff. Yeah, obviously devotees won't do that, But as far as like offering respect and having even like a personal relationship, offering words of appreciation, even requesting blessings, uh, that's within a devotee's mood, and to develop a personal relationship. We may already have one, developed. It's not necessarily outside of uh, bhakti. All right, read some more here, and unless anybody wants to share. All right, so, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Babaji.
I was just saying it really um, the appreciation for them, for the demigods as devotees, you can have the same kind of appreciation for them that you have with like your fellow devotees. You pay them obeisance when you see them. And, you can even offer them stuff every now and then. But it's also, I was thinking along the same lines of the impersonal Brahman, like the effulgence of Krishna and how it's still his like person is behind it all. And we can still have the same kind of respect for that like impersonal, quote unquote, impersonal space, but still see Krishna behind it all.
Right. Yeah, and I think, I mean, if you're talking like ISKCON, normally ISKCON in general, as a, I don't know, a organization or a society, they will err more on the side of caution, and I don't think make rules, but kind of like sometimes there may be a standard, or there may be sort of like an unofficial disposition that is like kind of, I've seen more like rigid and like, yeah, devotees don't worship demigods, or something like that. But the purpose of those things in ISKCON is so that people won't get confused. And Prabhupada preaches really strongly too, like in his books. He lays it out very clearly, who is Krishna, who is Shiva, who is Brahmaji, who is, this, who is that. And, sometimes people can get confused, but like you're saying, if there's room for everything and everybody in what Prabhupada is presenting. Yeah. It's kind of like they're trying to idiot proof it, like, and I've seen even sometimes they come up with like, rules that are not necessarily like, they're a little arbitrary, or, like nobody else in the world is like doing it like that, even Vaishnavas, even in the same line as us. But, they're senior devotees, different devotees within ISKCON are trying to just guard against offenses and confusion. So sometimes that can be confusing for people. So all right, I'll read 27. Oh, sorry.
I was saying Jai Ho.
Yeah. 27. Rajastama prakritaya shamashila bhajanti vai pitrabhuta bhaje shadin shri aishvarya prajepsavaha. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. Purport. There is no need to worship demigods of whatsoever category if one is serious about going back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:20 and 23, it is clearly said that those who are mad after material enjoyment approach the different demigods for temporary benefits, which are meant for men with a poor fund of knowledge. We should never desire to increase the depth of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment should be accepted only up to the point of bare necessities of life, and not more or less than that. To accept more material enjoyment means to bind oneself more and more to the miseries of material existence. More wealth, more women, and false aristocracy are some of the demands of the materially disposed man because he has no information of the benefit derived from Vishnu worship. By Vishnu worship, one can derive benefit in this life as well as in life after death. Forgetting these principles, foolish people who are after more wealth, more wives, and more children worship various demigods. The aim of life is to end the miseries of life and not to increase them. For material enjoyment, there is no need to approach the demigods. The demigods are but servants of the Lord. As such, they are duty-bound to supply necessities of life in the form of water, light, air, and so on. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's hard labor for existence, and that should be the motto of life. That's in italics. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's labor, hard labor for existence, and that should be the motto of life. One should be careful to execute occupational service with faith in God in the proper way, and that will lead one gradually on the progressive march back to Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna, when he was personally present at Vrajadham, stopped the worship of the demigod Indra and advised the residents of Vraj to worship by their business and to have faith in God. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of religion. This sort of religious activity has been condemned in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam as Kaitava Dharma. There is only one religion in the world to be followed by one and all, and that is the Bhagavat Dharma, or the religion which teaches one to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one else. Let me see here. Okay, got some time. Okay, we got a verse with a lengthy purport coming up. So feel free at any point to make comments or break it up. Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramakaha, Vasudeva Parayoga, Vasudeva Parakriyaha, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please Him. Yoga is for realizing Him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know Him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto Him. He is the supreme goal of life. Purport: that Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship is confirmed in these two shlokas. In the Vedic literature, there is the same objective: establishing one's relationship and ultimately reviving our lost loving service unto Him. That is the sum and substance of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, the same theory is confirmed by the Lord in His own words. The ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to know Him only. All the revealed scriptures are prepared by the Lord through His incarnation in the body of Srila Vyasadeva, just to remind the fallen souls, conditioned by material nature, of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. No demigod can award freedom from material bondage. That is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. Impersonalists who have no information of the personality of Godhead minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put Him on equal footing with all other living beings. And for this act, such impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty. They can surrender unto Him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge. One may argue that the Vedic activities are based on sacrificial ceremonies. That is true, but all such sacrifices are also meant for realizing the truth about Vasudeva. Another name of Vasudeva is Yajna, sacrifice, and in the Bhagavad Gita it is clearly stated that all sacrifices and all activities are to be conducted for the satisfaction of Yajna, or Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. This is the case also with the yoga systems. Yoga means to get into touch with the Supreme Lord. The process, however, includes several bodily features such as asana, dhyana, pranayama, and meditation. And all of them are meant for concentrating upon the localized aspect of Vasudeva, represented as Paramatma. Paramatma realization is but partial realization of Vasudeva, and if one is successful in that attempt, one realizes Vasudeva in full. But by ill luck, most yogis are stranded by the powers of mysticism achieved through the bodily process. Ill-fated yogis are given a chance in the next birth by being placed in the families of good learned brahmanas or in the families of rich merchants in order to execute the unfinished task of Vasudeva realization. If such fortunate brahmanas and sons of rich men properly utilize the chance, they can easily realize Vasudeva by good association with saintly persons. Unfortunately, such preferred persons are captivated again by material wealth and honor, and thus they practically forget the aim of life. This is also so for the culture of knowledge. According to Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 items in culturing knowledge. By such culture of knowledge, one becomes gradually prideless, devoid of vanity, non-violent, forbearing, simple, devoted to the great spiritual master, and self-controlled. By culture of knowledge, one becomes unattached to hearth and home and becomes conscious of the miseries due to death, birth, old age, and disease. And all culture of knowledge culminates in devotional service to the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Therefore, Vasudeva is the ultimate aim in culturing all different branches of knowledge. Culture of knowledge leading one to the transcendental plane of meeting Vasudeva is real knowledge. Physical knowledge in its various branches is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita as ajnana, or the opposite of real knowledge. The ultimate aim of physical knowledge is to satisfy the senses, which means prolongation of the term of material existence and thereby continuance of the threefold miseries. So prolonging the miserable life of material existence is nescience. But the same physical knowledge leading to the way of spiritual understanding helps one to end the miserable life of physical existence and to begin the life of spiritual existence on the plane of Vasudeva. The same applies to all kinds of austerities. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of bodily pains to achieve some higher end of life. Ravana and Hiranyakashipu underwent a severe type of bodily torture to achieve the end of sense gratification. Sometimes modern politicians also undergo severe types of austerities to achieve some political end. This is not actually tapasya. One should accept voluntary bodily inconvenience for the sake of knowing Vasudeva because that is the way of real austerities. Otherwise, all forms of austerities are classified as modes of passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorance cannot end the miseries of life. Only the mode of goodness can mitigate the threefold miseries of life. Vasudeva and Devaki, the so-called father and mother of Lord Krishna, underwent penances to get Vasudeva as their son. Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living beings, Bhagavad Gita 14.4. Therefore, he is the original living being of all other living beings. He is the original eternal enjoyer amongst all other enjoyers. Therefore, no one can be his begetting father, as the ignorant may think. Lord Sri Krishna agreed to become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki upon being pleased with their severe austerities. Therefore, if any austerities have to be done, they must be done to achieve the end of knowledge, Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the original personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. As explained before, the original personality of Godhead expands himself by innumerable forms. Such expansion of forms is made possible by his various energies. His energies are also multifarious, and his internal energies are superior and external energies inferior in quality. They are explained in Bhagavad Gita 7:4-6 as the para and apara prakritis. So his expansions of various forms which take place via the internal energies are superior forms, whereas the expansions which take place via the external energies are inferior forms. The living entities are also his expansions. The living entities who are expanded by his internal potency are eternally liberated persons, whereas those who are expanded in terms of the material energies are eternally conditioned souls. Therefore, all culture of knowledge, austerity, sacrifice, and activity should be aimed at changing the quality of the influence that is acting upon us. For the present, we are all being controlled by the external energy of the Lord, and just to change the quality of the influence, we must endeavor to cultivate spiritual energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are Mahatmas, or those whose minds have been so broadened as to be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, are under the influence of the internal potency. And the effect is that such broad-minded living beings are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord without deviation. That should be the aim of life, and that is the verdict of all the Vedic literatures. No one should bother himself with fruitive activities or dry speculation without transcendental knowledge. Everyone should at once engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nor should one worship different demigods who work as different hands of the Lord for creation, maintenance, or destruction of the material world. There are innumerable powerful demigods who look over the external management of the material world. They are all different assisting hands of Lord Vasudeva. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are included in the list of demigods, but Lord Vishnu or Vasudeva is always transcendentally situated. Even though he accepts the quality of goodness of the material world, he is still transcendental to all the material modes. The following example will clear that matter more explicitly. In the prison house, there are the prisoners and the managers of the prison house. Both the managers and the prisoners are bound by the laws of the king. But even though the king sometimes comes in the prison, he is not bound by the laws of the prison house. The king is therefore always transcendental to the laws of the prison house, as the Lord is always transcendental to the laws of the material world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So,
Jai.
yeah, I'm going to stop the reading portion there, but we still have a little time for discussion if there's any points. Pretty clear, Prabhupada is.
I enjoyed hearing the description of being broad-minded. That was something new to me.
Mm.
Those who have broadened their mind come in contact with this kind of information and follow it.
Yeah, we can see that practically in the vast lands of the United States of America. Some people who are very not broad-minded, they have these ideas and they cannot accept it. It's pretty amazing. I remember one time I heard Vyapi Prabhu give a class, and he made this joke. He said, "I used to be broad-minded and narrow-waisted," and then, now broad-waisted, narrow-minded. Yeah, it's so easy for us to get stuck in our ways, our ideas, conceptions. It is really amazing, you know, for myself. I tend to isolate away and practice as best I can. And then whenever I end up in a different situation or around different kinds of people or whatever, and then I see like, wow, like some people are really on a very different wavelength and, never heard of Krishna or don't want to hear of Krishna or, they're operating in a very different way than, I mean, not that I'm so Krishna conscious, but just from a person who's at least trying, it's such a different understanding of life. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I can't even imagine not knowing this kind of information. Like just the level of um just searching and just feeling so unfulfilled all the time. I never want to go back to that feeling ever again. Knowing that I can always have the mantra and always associate with Krishna and always be connected with Krishna forever. And there's like, I can feel it. I can feel this like transcendental nature to it all. It's such a blessing. It's so helpful for my daily life.
Absolutely.
It's so sad seeing people out there that just like have no idea. It's just like, how do you function? It's so crazy.
It is miserable. Especially, like, I saw a lot of it out in the trucking world. There's a lot of men out there, well, people, but mostly men from what I saw. There's a lot of men out there, they're just like, they just accept certain things and they stop questioning and they just maybe get entangled or they get into a situation where, they need money and then they get into this profession or that one, and it's like it basically is all encompassing. Like it takes over their whole life. You can't see your family, you can't really go home that much. You're just constantly working, and they just kind of like accept it. And there's nothing more, nothing less. It's just like, yeah, it is. It's a very miserable state. And so in the trucking world, in my observation, and I mean, anybody can see this. There is some respect for them because of how hard they work and whatnot, but there's a huge, uh, like most of the drivers are big crybaby complainers all the time about everything, and they feel like kind of like they've been duped out of life or something, and like they've conceded, to um, certain demands or whatever, and they've sacrificed or given up on their own aspirations or thoughts or anything, and they just like concede is the word basically. Yep, and then there's nothing more. They don't want to hear anything more. They're just locked in and uh, basically just waiting to get old and have health problems so they can take all their saved up money and put it towards medical bills. Anyway, it's miserable. Hare Krishna.
Wow. Have you tried preaching to any of those kinds of people?
Yeah, I've distributed some books to truckers.
Cool.
Yeah, there are some, I'm just speaking generally. There are a lot of really nice people, smart people. They go in, there's so many different arrangements that people make within that specific demographic. But generally speaking, there is a lot of, what I was talking about too.
Lately, I've been thinking about like my priorities in life and just like how I move and how I interact with people. And I was just realizing, like how do I want to be treated? I want to be treated like with care and like um, just like have people like, be sensitive to what would make me comfortable and I'll be sensitive to what makes them comfortable and all that. And then I was thinking, okay, I want that to be like how I interact with people. But then like I should probably move that way also with like the ultimate person, like with like the universe and like everything around me. I should have that certain level of care instead of just like being like, oh, you know what, I just need to make money and it doesn't matter and I'm just gonna do it anyways. And like, you know, just that it's like a whole new mindset that I'm trying to cultivate. It's like every action should be thoughtful to like build my relationship with Krishna.
Right. Yeah, I like that idea of being sensitive to. It's like basically like to the supreme will, you know,
Jai.
and desire of the Lord, and yeah, harmonizing oneself with the higher, will, because that's what the material world is made in such a way that we have the facility to try to, act independently and make this happen and make that happen, you know, like like apparently separately, but yeah, like it's a cool meditation. And I've been similarly trying to align myself, like how to dovetail what I have, everything, even the material desires and the modes I have and all this stuff, can all be utilized. It's just a matter of you know proper application, guidance from a bona fide spiritual master. Yeah.
To get that for desire to even like want to dovetail it at the right times or all the time.
Right. Moment to moment. The surrender is a process, not just like I do it once. I surrender and I'm done. It's like moment to moment, surrendering. Right. All right, Krishna. Any other points? Bhakta Adam, you were starting to say something. I think you stopped. I didn't hear if you're done or not.
Well, I just found it pretty nice that you were able to preach to a few truckers. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Some of them are quite receptive. Never know.
Yeah.
I told
Yeah.
the story before, but there's one I was waiting to get unloaded, and so was this other guy, and we were standing there like, you know, being complainy truckers, like, "Hey, what's taking so long?" or whatever. And so we started talking, and I think he noticed my hairdo, and he was like, asking me about it, and then somehow we got on the topic of like spiritual stuff, and then he was asking me questions, and I started explaining to him, and then I was like, well, actually, I have a book. I have a Bhagavad Gita in my truck if you want it. And he was like, yeah, he like was interested. He wanted it. So we went
Uh,
into my truck. I climbed up in there, and I have an altar with or I had an altar with Gornitai and the Parampara, and had the Bhagavad Gita in there, and I said, hey, you can step up and see my altar if you want. And he like climbed up the steps and was kind of standing on the top step, like right outside the door. And he looked into Gorni Tai, and then immediately tears actually like were shooting out of his face, like not coming down his face, but actually like shooting out. And he was like, and he was like, oh, he's like, excuse me, and he's like, I don't know why this is happening, and then he was just saying, well, he's
wow.
like, I don't know why this is happening. And he was like,
Wow.
it's so beautiful. He thought the altar was so beautiful. And then, yeah, tears just were shooting out of his face as soon as he saw Gorni Tai. And then I gave him the Bhagavad Gita, and I didn't even say anything about a donation or anything. And he's like, here. And then he gave me a $20 bill for it. And
Wow.
we just connected real nice, took each other's numbers, and stayed in touch a little bit. But yeah, it was just something special. I had the real feeling of like, yeah, this was like not ordinary. Like it was like somebody that has had a previous, a relationship with Gorni Tai, perhaps from a previous life, and it just,
Yeah,
just like,
that's wonderful.
it's
That's
amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah, and he was just some trucker dude from Maryland.
Wow.
We were somewhere over there around Baltimore, between Baltimore and DC. Like there's a whole area there. It was somewhere in there. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm listening to a lot of videos of devotees and how they became devotees, and just receiving a book from a book distributor is like one of the number one ways, or at least catalysts, to them actually getting more serious. And it's encouraging for me to want to go distribute books more.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Uh,
'cause- yeah, go ahead.
so you lost the table now?
Huh?
Did you have you been going to Hawaii?
Well, lately I've been kind of traveling around a lot.
Right, right.
I didn't lose any
But
table or anything.
the table, like,
I got kicked out,
because, yeah,
but there's plenty. It's not really. There's so many other things we can do. It's we lost the battle, but we didn't lose the war.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I would hardly even call it losing the battle, but
How can you lose a battle?
oh, yeah, Hare Krishna. Well, any other points?
I was just gonna say it's
Uh,
getting nice
excuse
in
me.
Richmond, and I'm taking some books around town and trying to distribute them in like little parks and stuff where I see a lot of students.
Nice. Yeah, you're a natural at that, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope to come visit you soon, actually. Probably like in April or something, and help you
Please do.
distribute.
I got a there's like some kind of fair thing on the April 11th, and Ashok took the liberty of signing me up to do a performance. So I'm trying to find devotees to help me do kirtan. Otherwise, it's gonna be by myself, and that's not gonna be very great.
Oh, perfect! I would love to be there.
And if we get one more person, then it'll be like very good. Simple, nothing spectacular, just a little baby kirtan, and have a book table, and it's gonna be fun. Athens is awesome.
You said April 11th.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do my best
Yeah,
to
you
be
come up
there.
on the 10th. Come
Mm,
come here
okay.
to my house on the 10th. I'm gonna come up here and try to recruit some New Vrindavan devotees, and then drive down the 11th in the morning, do the stuff, and then after that, bring them back or whatever, whatever everybody wants to do. That's what I was thinking. Come be up around New Vrindavan on the 10th, and then drive the morning of the 11th, and then just come back. It's not really that far. Just come back in the evening of the 11th to New Vrindavan.
Lines up perfectly. I'll definitely be there.
Sweet. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Jai.
Mhm.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. So, thank you all so much. Thanks for sharing and hearing
So,
and tuning
thank you.
in, despite so many things going on. And I will be here tomorrow, same time. Probably a different place though. Tomorrow.
Sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Be in touch. We're in the recording here.